What?
I asked you like 3 weeks ago, what phone do you use?
I told you.
No, you did not.
Yeah, I
wanted to
messaged
get you. I wanted to get you a mic.
I'm pretty sure I messaged you what that technology is.
I'm about to look it up. He totally did, and I just ignored. Oh, he did. All right. Might be.
Way to go.
So what you're saying is that Cruz, Jesus Christ, Tucker no longer appreciates Daddy Communist Putin's opinions. He's changed his mind.
I had seen something where Tucker Carlson was like criticizing Putin over Navalny's death or something, or however you say that dude's name.
How dare
Yeah,
he
like
let
why
a
would you
neo-Nazi
criticize him
die?
about something that's kind of based?
Yeah.
Limo.
I mean, like, be mad at him about actual stuff,
Yeah.
Don't be mad at him about a guy who called Muslim people like vermin or whatever.
Yeah, I'm okay with your chauvinism and burgeoning imperialism, but I draw the line at letting a neo-Nazi die in your prison.
There's someone at work who's been really trying to talk to me about politics because they heard me, kind of softball communism to them. And they were like, I want to talk about the guy who died in Russia. And I didn't know what they were referring to because I worked the night shift. So when I got home and I looked it up and I was like, oh, I don't know if this person's going to be like, that was based or that was terrible. So we'll see. We'll see. So,
I mean, liberals are like all sad about Navalny dying.
Of course they are. That's their homie. They think
he's their fascist.
That's why they support genocide.
That is our fascist.
I hate you. Anyway, we're doing Yap Session Part 2. Heavily edited. Not on Twitch. Not re-recorded. So we don't lose the channel. This is about where we were left off. Basically, Putin is saying how he's just giving the spiel about Euromaidan.
The coup. They created a threat to Crimea, which we had to take under our protection. They launched the war in Donbass in 2014 with the use of aircraft and artillery against civilians. This is when it all started. There's a video of aircraft attacking Donetsk from above. They launched a large-scale military operation, then another one. When they failed, they started to prepare the next one. All this against the background of military development of this territory and opening of NATO's doors. How could we not express concern over what was happening? From our side, this would have been a culpable negligence. That's what it would have been. It's just that the U.S. political leadership pushed us to the line we could not cross, because doing so could have ruined Russia itself. Besides, we could not leave our brothers in faith, in fact, a part of Russian people, in the face of this war machine.
But that was 8 years before the current conflict started. So what was the trigger for you? What was the moment where you decided you had to do this?
Our brothers in faith.
That a little too God-centered for you, Larry Bear?
It's a little too silly. But
No, I know. I agree. It's stupid.
It's a very silly line.
Yeah, he's trying to be poetic, and I don't think you really need to be poetic around Tucker Carlson.
No.
Initially, it was the coup in Ukraine that provoked the conflict. By the way, back then the representatives of 3 European countries, Germany, Poland, and France, arrived. They were the guarantors of the signed agreement between the government of Yanukovych and the opposition. They signed it as guarantors. Despite that, the opposition committed a coup, and all these countries pretended that they didn't remember that they were guarantors of the peaceful settlement. They just threw it in the stove right away, and nobody recalls that. I don't know if the U.S. know anything about the agreement between the opposition and the authorities. and its three guarantors who, instead of bringing this whole situation back in the political field, supported the coup. Although it was meaningless, believe me, because President Yanukovych agreed to all conditions. He was ready to hold an early election, which he had no chance of winning, frankly speaking. Everyone knew that. Then why the coup? Why the victims? Why threatening Crimea? Why launching an operation in Donbass? This I do not understand. That is exactly what the miscalculation is. CIA did its job to complete the coup. I think one of the deputy secretaries of state said that it cost a large sum of money, almost 5 billion. But the political mistake was colossal. Why would they have to do that? All this could have been done legally, without victims, without military action, without losing Crimea. We would have never considered to even lift a finger if it hadn't been for the bloody developments on Maidan. Because we agreed with the fact that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, our border should be along the borders of former Union's republics. We agreed to that. But we never agreed to NATO's expansion, and moreover, we never agreed that Ukraine would be in NATO. We did not agree to NATO bases there without any discussion with us. For decades, we kept asking, don't do this, don't do that. And what triggered the latest events? Firstly, the current Ukrainian leadership declared that it would not implement the Minsk agreements, which had been signed, as you know, after the events of 2014 in Minsk, where the plan of peaceful settlement in Donbass was set forth. But no, the current Ukrainian leadership, foreign minister, all other officials, and then president himself said that they don't like anything about the Minsk agreements. In other words, they were not going to implement it. A year or a year and a half ago, former leaders of Germany and France said openly to the whole world that they indeed signed the Minsk agreements, but they never intended to implement them. They simply led us by the nose.
Was there anyone for you to talk to? Did you call a U.S. President, Secretary of State, and say, if you keep militarizing Ukraine with NATO forces, this is going to get... this is going to...
That's a weird question, right?
The immediate thought that went to my head is like, did you try calling the helpline, the 1-800 number?
Yeah.
Right, like
Was there anybody for you, the president of a sovereign nation, one of the most important in the entire world, to go and talk to somebody from another country? Was that something you could have? No shit, bro. What are you talking about?
He just comes up and he's like, the hold line was too long. I couldn't get through the automator.
President? Like, what?
I want to speak to NATO's manager immediately.
Yeah, they didn't get your McDonald's order wrong, bro. They're trying to instigate a war. Like
they tried to order chicken nuggets and a fucking Big Mac was delivered. He was pissed, so it's like started war.
I know this alliance was made specifically to piss me off, but it's kind of pissing me off, guys. So like, can you like stop? Like, what?
Did France just call someone about Yahtzee Germany at the time? I mean, the Soviet Union tried to call and look how that turned out.
they called over and over again and just got left on hold.
Yeah, they was trying to hit 0 for speak to a representative and nothing happened.
For Spanish. Para español.
This is going to be we're going to act.
We talked about this all the time. We addressed the United States and European countries' leadership to stop these developments immediately, to implement the Minsk agreements. Frankly speaking, I didn't know how we were going to do this, but I was ready to implement them. These agreements were complicated for Ukraine. They included lots of elements of those Donbass territories' independence. That's true. However, I was absolutely confident, and I'm saying this to you now. I honestly believe that if we managed to convince the residents of Donbass, and we had to work hard to convince them to return to the Ukrainian statehood, then gradually the wounds would start to heal. When this part of territory reintegrated itself into common social environment, when the pensions and social benefits were paid again, all the pieces would gradually fall into place. No, nobody wanted that. Everybody wanted to resolve the issue by military force only. But we could not let that happen. And the situation got to the point when the Ukraine announced, no, we will.
What's up?
It's just he's like, everybody wanted to do this through military force only, and we could not let that happen. So naturally, we decided and opted to solve this through military force by invading Ukraine.
They need to learn our peaceful ways by force. Oh God.
We will not do anything. They also started preparing for military action. It was they who started the war in 2014. Our goal is to stop this war. And we did not start this war in 2022. This is an attempt to stop it.
Do you think you've stopped it now? I mean, have you achieved your aims?
That low key, like such a sound clip for Tucker. Did you stop it now? And the sunglasses come down.
Yeah. Yada yada yada.
No, we haven't achieved our aims yet, because one of them is denazification. This means the prohibition of all kinds of neo-Nazi movements. This is one of the problems that we discussed during the negotiation process, which ended in Istanbul early this year. And it was not our initiative, because we were told by the Europeans, in particular, that it was necessary to create conditions for the final signing of the documents. My counterparts in France and Germany said, how can you imagine them signing a treaty with a gun to their heads? The troops should be pulled back from Kiev. I said, all right. We withdrew the troops from Kiev. As soon as we pulled back our troops from Kiev, our Ukrainian negotiators immediately threw all our agreements reached in Istanbul into the bin.
I gotta be real with Putin here. What did you think was gonna happen, bro?
That's got to be cope, bro. That's
Yeah,
that's such cope. Like that's like I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, the Ukrainians are clapping Russia right now. They're really destroying them. But like, they were not doing too hot in for the incursion into Kiev. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the circumstances that he agreed to or whatever, to be like, yeah, we're gonna withdraw to get this agreement signed. But like,
Yeah.
let's be real. He wouldn't withdraw if he didn't already kind of foresee that he would have to in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
right.
It's all
And
just
this
a
is-
political move, right? Like it's like he pulls the troops out and he's saying, "Oh, I'm doing
Yeah.
it as a show of good faith," even if the underlying real reason is like, okay, well, we can't exactly hold the city, so we're going to withdraw anyway.
Yeah.
It's just like he can twist it, he can spin it.
Yeah. Well, like if it were the case that he only did this because it was a show of good faith, he would go back into Kiev through the exact same route again. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Like he'd be like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're not doing this, so I'm going to do the thing I just said I wasn't going to do because I thought we were doing this." You know what I mean? Like
Right.
So this is where
he wouldn't be
where
tweaking out
NATO
about fucking Wagner Group, losing or not winning quickly enough. You know what I mean? He'd be like, "Oh, well, we have plenty of guys because obviously, we just withdrew a sizable army from the north that we can reallocate to Mariupol or whatever." And it's like, no.
Yeah, and this is where the West also played their hand too, where they realized that they had a lot more capital to be gained here after the stumbling blocks that Russia hit attacking Kiev. It's like no. We got more to drain out of this. There's no need to settle yet.
Mhm.
We still want to sell you some weapons before
The well's
this
not
done.
dry yet.
Yeah, this doesn't need to wrap up in a timely manner, and they later sent Boris Johnson to do the same job.
It's
And got
still
prepared for
entertaining
a
to me
long-
that Boris Johnson and Donald Trump are just like they just look the same. Like they look like they came out of like
Mhm.
the same factory.
They did, really.
Yeah, man, you gotta be like a different level of insanity to like walk around looking like that all day. But
Fucking
Um,
Angloids.
liberals would call me ableist for that.
Long-standing armed confrontation with the help of the United States and its satellites in Europe. That is how the situation has developed, and that is how it looks now.
But what is, pardon my ignorance, what is denazification? What would that mean? What is,
Да, вот я как раз хочу сейчас об этом сказать. Это очень важный вопрос. Денацификация.
That is what I want to talk about right now. It is a very important issue. Denazification.
Искать, как говорят некоторые аналитики,
After gaining independence, Ukraine began to search, as some Western analysts say,
как
its
поставить
identity.
во главу угла этой идентичности. На
And it came up with nothing better than to build this identity upon some false heroes who collaborated with Hitler.
которые сотрудничали с Гитлером. Я уже говорил, что
I have already said that in the early 19th century, when the theorists of independence and sovereignty of Ukraine appeared,
I didn't realize Tucker is wearing like a Hufflepuff Harry Potter tie.
Shut the fuck up, bro.
they assumed that an independent Ukraine should have
Quick,
very good
Ukraine
relations
and
with
Russia are still searching for the golden golden
They did-
snitch.
They
The
did
golden
say
snitch.
that
They haven't found it yet.
they did say Putin was like Vladimir or whatever on Twitter. So
Voldemort?
I guess that kind of
Vladimir.
Vladimir.
Volodymyr.
Vladimir. Look at him.
Volodymyr Zelensky.
to the historical development. Those territories were part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Poland, where Ukrainians were persecuted and treated quite brutally as well as were subject to cruel behavior.
идентичность. Да, и вели себя очень жестоко. Это все осталось в памяти.
There were also attempts to destroy their identity.
Да, а когда началась Вторая мировая война, часть этого,
All this remained in the memory of the people.
край-
You're just giggling today.
It's just, I don't know. He's just saying some goofy shit. Like
Yeah, rewind it a second.
he just was like, if we go back way further in this, and don't do this now, but like, he literally like in the first part, he was like, yeah, they were promoting, the growth of Ukrainian, nationalism as a means to convince these Russian people that they weren't Russian anymore. And then in this, he's like, those goddamn Polish Lithuanians, they're trying to force our Ukrainian brothers not to be Ukrainian anymore. like what are you talking about, bro? It can't be
Yeah.
both of these at the same time.
To translate what because obviously in Russia Nazism is very unpopular. So denazification is the Russian capitalist class's version of the war on terror.
Mm-hmm.
It's a buzzword. Like, they don't actually care about defeating fascism. They use something that's very unpopular amongst the masses, Nazism, and say that, and to be fair, like, legitimately the capitalist class in Ukraine gives them an easy softball with that, because there are so many fucking fascists there that, like he's talking about their search for national heroes. Well, they can't use the Ukrainian communist heroes because they're communists. And, like, if you go back further, it's like, well, they're just Russian heroes. So we got to go with Bandera. Bandera's our guy.
Yeah.
So,
Fucking Bandera.
yeah.
Yeah, because if the Russian oligarchy and capitalists were interested in actually removing Nazis,
They'd remove themselves.
then right, they would look inwards. I mean, they did get rid of that one that we just talked about, but I mean, like, all of them.
As long as they get rid of a couple of actual Nazis every now and again, then they can have plausible deniability. They're like, look, we're doing it. We're doing the thing.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of the Nazis.
Well, it's the same with the U.S. surgical strikes, right? Like, they'll every now and again actually bomb like ISIS or Al-Nusra,
Yeah.
and then other times they'll just bomb other freedom fighters and just
Yeah.
say they're targets or whatever.
Oh, look at that. We got him.
Gentlemen,
That
we
was
got
a
him.
wedding, sir.
Kicks
We got
door
him.
open.
We got him.
We
Poland,
have
where
destroyed an
Ukrainians
ISIS
were
wedding.
persecuted and treated quite brutally as well as were subject to cruel behavior.
идентичность. Да, и вели себя очень жестоко. Это все осталось в памяти.
There were also attempts to destroy their identity.
Да, а когда началась Вторая мировая война, часть этой
All this remained in the memory of the people.
край-
When World War II broke out, part of this extremely nationalist elite collaborated with Hitler believing that he would bring them freedom.
Она начала сотрудничать с Гитлером, полагая, что
The German troops, even the SS troops, made Hitler's collaborators do the dirtiest work of exterminating the Polish and Jewish population. Hence, this brutal massacre of the Polish and Jewish population, as well as the Russian population too.
Вот отсюда вот эта жестокая резня.
This was led by the persons who are well known, Bandera, Shukevich. It was those people who were made national heroes. That is the problem. And we are constantly told that nationalism and neo-Nazism exist in other countries as well. Yes, they are seedlings, but we uproot them, and other countries fight against them. But Ukraine is not the case. These people have been made into national heroes in Ukraine. Monuments to those people have been erected. They are displayed on flags. Their names are shouted by crowds that walk with torches, as it was in Nazi Germany.
Они на флагах. Они их имена кричат.
These were people who exterminated Poles, Jews, and Russians.
Это люди, которые уничтожали поляков, евреев и русских.
It is necessary to stop this practice and prevent the dissemination of this concept. I say that Ukrainians are part of the one Russian people. They say, no, we are a separate people. Okay, fine. If they consider themselves a separate people, they have the right to do so, but not on the basis of Nazism, the Nazi ideology.
Would you be satisfied with the territory that you have now?
Нет, закончим. Вы же задали вопрос по неонацизму и денацификации.
I will finish answering the question. You just asked a question about neo-Nazism and denazification. Look, the president of Ukraine visited Canada. The story is well known, but being silenced in the Western countries. The Canadian Parliament introduced a man who, as the Speaker of the Parliament said, fought against the Russians during the World War II. Well, who fought against the Russians during the World War II?
Based. W.
Hitler
Fucking Canada.
and his accomplices. It turned out that this man served in the SS troop.
I should clarify before this gets clipped sometime in the future. I'm saying based to what Putin said, not based to Canada.
I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting for.
Yeah,
I was hoping
please.
for a clip.
Please clarify that.
Whoever watches this, please clip that moment and share it. Say collective ?
Collective sports Nazi?
Bruce is a fucking fed. He's trying to get us canceled. He's encouraging it.
Troops
I fucking knew
personally
it.
killed Russians, Poles, and Jews. The SS troops consisted of Ukrainian nationalists who did this dirty work. The president of Ukraine stood up with the entire Parliament of Canada and applauded this man. How can this be imagined? The president of Ukraine himself, by the way, is a Jew by nationality.
Really, my question is, what do you do about it? I mean, Hitler's been dead for 80 years.
Kill him.
And so,
You kill these people.
Hitler's dead. What are you talking about?
Kill him.
If they're still alive and they're a Nazi, you fucking get rid of them, bro.
Yeah,
I don't know how it's that difficult to understand.
I mean, it's like what worked the first time.
We have to be better than them.
Yeah.
See.
what? If they're not here, then that's
It's
that's
like
how you
the-
deal with them.
It's like the
Make them-
NKVD picture where he's like,
Yeah.
true. And so I think what you're saying is you want to extinguish or at least control Ukrainian nationalism, but how? How do you do that?
Вот послушайте меня. Ваш вопрос очень тонкий.
Listen to me. Your question is very subtle, and I can tell you what I think.
Listen, bud.
Do not take offense.
Of course.
Он казалось бы тонкий, он очень противный. вот такой.
This question appears to be subtle. It is quite pesky.
Lame-o.
the cut to him smiling. He's like, he's about to gas me right now. He's like, fucking-
I don't like your goddamn question. Okay. Sorry.
Jesus Christ. He looks like a gremlin, bro.
He ate past midnight.
He's gonna turn into a fucking Eldritch horror.
No, like, why
That's
does it
the
look like
thumbnail.
that though?
That face with the code words.
Why
he's
do you
like-
look like that though?
This is quite pesky.
He's like, your question is dumb as shit. Have you considered that? Now I've spent enough time trying to answer it nicely. You son of a bitch.
Good lord. That's the thumbnail.
You say Hitler has been dead for so many years, 80 years. But his example lives on. People who exterminated Jews, Russians, and Poles are alive. And the president, the current president of today's Ukraine, applauds him in the Canadian Parliament, gives a standing ovation. Can we say that we have completely uprooted this ideology if what we say?
Wait a minute. You're telling me that Tucker's own team put in
They put in the clip. They're like, "This is what he's talking about."
Because that's what I was gonna do it, but okay.
His own team is like, I mean, facts. Like, on God, they did that.
I mean, it's like you can't exactly hide it. It's like, okay, well, everyone saw that
is in our understanding.
Hey, fuck that guy.
Who maintain this concept
there he is, fucking Nazi scum,
and try to preserve it. That is what denazification is. That is what we mean.
Right. My question was a little more specific. It was, of course, not a defense of Nazis, neo or otherwise. It was a practical question. You don't control the entire country. You don't control Kiev.
Neo or otherwise.
Neo or otherwise.
Classic Nazi versus neo-Nazi.
Yeah. Tell us more, Tucker. What do you know?
Don't seem like you want to. So how do you eliminate a culture or an ideology or feelings or a view of history in a country that you don't control? What do you do
Kill him.
about that?
You know, as strange as it may seem to you, during the negotiations in Istanbul, we did agree that we have it all in writing. Neo-Nazism would not be cultivated in Ukraine, including that it would be prohibited at the legislative level. Mr. Carson, we agreed on that. This, it turns out, can be done during the negotiation process. And there's nothing humiliating for Ukraine as a modern civilized state. Is any state allowed to promote Nazism? It is not, is it? That is it.
Will there be talks, and why haven't there been talks about resolving the conflict in Ukraine? Peace talks.
Every time we have them, you send fucking Boris over to fucking get them.
It's literally just explained, like, yeah, we had talks, so they backed out. Like, that's...
Yeah, it's like, we tried.
He's not listening, you know. He was thrown off already by like the 45-minute like history lessons from proto-humans to modern day, you know.
I mean, these are all the questions he has memorized. He wasn't ready to get 20 minutes about the concept of proto-Europeans, you know, moving in from northern India.
Have you ever like had an argument in your head, like you got to go do something and you're like, okay, I'm ready for an argument, you got that script in your head, but then you get there and none of that happens, but you kind of still want to have the argument, you still want that's what's happening, right? That's what's happening.
The fourth grade geography.
Buddy forgot to take an improv class before.
He's like, oh shit, I wasn't. He's like, I came in here with a script, man.
That literally happened.
You're fucking this up for me right now, dude.
Fourth grade geography B. I studied all the questions they gave me, and then when I got to the geography B, none of the questions were in there.
Piece of shit, that fourth grader.
Bastards.
All right, I'm in fucking night mode right now, so I'm gonna turn these lights on.
I was about to say, I just texted the private chat. I was like, bro, why is your screen getting so dark?
It's because I live in the same fucking place that you live in, so it was like daytime a minute ago.
Okay, just dox us.
We're in the same time zone, so I don't know what the hell. Like, you see how bright my sky is?
Oh. Yeah, but you're way down there.
I'm down in the goddamn south. We get all kinds of.
All right, see, now it's day mode. Now we're in day mode.
Jeez, Larry's like,
I was getting all cozy. I was getting ready to fucking pass out. I was like,
yeah.
I mean, Larry's got the bunker lights on. Like, I can tell.
Yeah,
you're like 40 meters underground.
That's the rumor.
That's the rumor.
They have been. They reached a very high stage of coordination of positions in a complex process, but still they were almost finalized. But after we withdrew our troops from Kiev, as I have already said, The other side threw away all these agreements and obeyed the instructions of Western countries, European countries, and the United States to fight Russia to the bitter end. Moreover, the president of Ukraine has legislated a ban on negotiating with Russia. He signed a decree forbidding everyone to negotiate with Russia. But how are we going to negotiate if he forbade himself and everyone to do this? We know that he is putting forward some ideas about this settlement, but in order to agree on something, we need to have a dialogue. Is that not right?
Well, but you wouldn't be speaking to the Ukrainian president, you'd be speaking to the American president. When was the last time you spoke to Joe Biden?
I cannot remember when I
Not a picture,
I
bro.
do not remember.
You remember?
Listen up, Jack.
He
That's
said-
malarkey.
He said, "What do you
come
think
up-
about Joe Byron right now?"
They came up with all of the thumbnails for us this episode.
That is excellent work.
Even
No.
fucking Tucker
Why?
Carlson's laughing.
Yeah, right.
Do I have to remember everything? I have my own things to do. We have domestic political affairs.
Well, he's funding the war that you're fighting, so I would think that would be memorable.
Well, yes, he funds, but I talked to him before the special military operation, of course. And I said to him then, by the way, I will not go into details, I never do, but I said to him then, I believe that you are
Ain't no way he said we don't go into details when he had the hour-long history lesson.
Those aren't
You
details
guys-
to him. That was
you guys
a
goofy.
brief overview.
Yeah,
Oh,
there was
you're
just
right,
a
you're right,
minute.
you're right.
There was just a minute, remember?
I think he said 2 minutes.
you are making a huge mistake of historic proportions by supporting everything that is happening there in Ukraine by pushing Russia away. I told him repeatedly, by the way. I think that would be correct if I stop here.
What did he say?
Ask him, please. It is easier for you. You are a citizen of the United States.
ask him.
Go and ask him. It is not appropriate for me to comment on our conversation.
But you haven't spoken to him since before February of 2022.
No, we haven't spoken. Certain contacts are being maintained, though. Speaking of which, do you remember what I told you about my proposal to work together on a missile defense system?
Yes.
You can ask all of them. All of them are safe and sound, thank God. The former president, Condoleezza, is safe and sound, and I think Mr. Gates and the current director of the intelligence agency, Mr. Burns, the then ambassador to Russia, in my opinion, are a very
Yes.
successful ambassador. They were all witnesses to these conversations. Ask them. Same here. If you are interested in what Mr. President Biden responded to me, ask him.
Joe
At
Biden.
any rate, I talked to him about it.
I'm definitely interested, but from the outside, it seems like this could devolve or evolve into something that brings the entire world into conflict and could initiate a nuclear launch. And so why don't you just call Biden and say, let's work this out?
Just call your girlfriend, bro. Like, I know she's mad at you, but like, you gotta talk to her at some point.
Have you tried talking to that fucking guy?
Did you see the picture, Tucker? Like,
Uh,
The
listen,
phone goes both ways, guys. He could have called him.
yeah.
See,
That's
the
true.
problem
If he
would
wanted
be,
to talk, he would have called Putin. Okay.
all I'm picturing right now is like because of the way they both talk, I'm imagining Putin calling, and during their conversation, Joe Biden goes on some crazy like side tangent about growing up in Delaware, and then Putin starts talking about a history lesson of Russia, and then never actually get to the
Yeah.
topic.
They're like, he's like,
Fun
"Are you
show.
familiar with the kingdom of the Kievan Rus?" And he's like, "Listen up, Tech. Me and my hairy legs down south in the Calabana fell
Used to go up to the river.
staircase America's 2942, and I tell you what, this malarkey, Putin face." Like say
it's
some
too old
ridiculous
farts, bro.
nonsense like
Why do we
this,
let
you
these
know?
people run the world?
You're like, Vladimir Lenin, you better stop doing what you're doing in the Ukraine.
What's there to work out? It's very simple. I repeat, we have contacts through various agencies. I will tell you what we are saying on this matter and what we are conveying to the US leadership. If you really want to stop fighting, you need to stop supplying weapons. It will be over within a few weeks. That's it. And then we can agree on some terms. Before you do that, Stop. What's easier? Why would I call him? What should I talk to him about? Or beg him for?
That'll be a good sound clip for the Discord.
If you
What?
stop
And what
giving
message
these
did they
guys
get?
guns, we'll kick their ass and the war will be over.
You're going to
That's
deliver
what he
such and
just
such
fucking
weapons to
said,
Ukraine.
basically.
Yeah,
That's
pretty much.
exactly what he just said.
It's like you guys won't have to worry about giving them any more guns if you just stop for like a month. They're done. It's over.
I'm just asking for a month, okay? I'll beat their ass, and then we can go back to being friendly, okay? Cool.
Give me 30 days. Give me 30 days, please.
It's like a Shark Tank interview where he's like, it's Putin, Zelensky, Biden, and Boris Johnson on the panel. And he's like, give me 30 days, and I promise you we can now work together and stop China.
Yeah.
No, what did I do?
What did you do?
Oh,
There
no.
Oh, I'm afraid. Please don't. What is there to talk about?
Do you think NATO is worried about this becoming a global war or a nuclear conflict?
At least that's what they're talking about. And they're trying to intimidate their own population with an imaginary Russian threat. This is an obvious fact. And thinking people, not Philistines, but thinking people, analysts, those who are engaged in real politics, just smart people understand perfectly well that this is a fake. They're trying to fuel the Russian threat.
The threat I think you're referring to is a Russian invasion of Poland, Latvia, expansionist behavior. Can you imagine a scenario where you sent Russian troops to Poland?
Only in one case, if Poland attacks Russia. Why? Because we have no interest in Poland, Latvia, or anywhere else. Why would we do that? We simply don't have any interest. It's just threat mongering.
Well, the argument, I know you know this, is that, well, he invaded Ukraine. He has territorial aims across the continent. And you're saying unequivocally you don't.
Like he just like bit his lip and just didn't say shit. He was like, I'm not going to invade Poland. Now, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Moldova, Finland, that's a whole other story. But Poland, I don't care. They don't got anything I want.
We just want their markets, bro.
absolutely
We don't care about the territory.
Right.
Out of the question. You just don't have to be any kind of analyst. It goes against common sense to get involved in some kind of a global war. And a global war will bring all humanity to the brink of destruction. It's obvious. There are certainly means of deterrence. They have been scaring everyone with us all along. Tomorrow, Russia will use tactical nuclear weapons. Tomorrow, Russia will use that. No, the day after tomorrow. So what? In order to extort additional money from US taxpayers and European taxpayers in the confrontation with Russia, in the Ukrainian theater.
He low-key cooking, though. Not that, I mean, he's not wrong with that part. Y'all gonna say nothing? Or?
What part? With what part?
The part where he was saying, they keep exaggerating the Russian threat to the extent to basically pull more tax money from Europeans and Americans to continue funneling like military-industrial complex. And I said, low-key, he's cooking here.
Yeah, that's definitely I mean, they do that with every conflict. You got to keep the populace afraid so that they want to keep the war going.
A war. The goal is to weaken Russia as much as possible.
Love the Russiagate.
Russiagate? Oh, the whole Putin's the president of the United States type deal.
Yeah, that Trump.
One of our senior United States senators from the state of New York, Chuck Schumer, said yesterday, I believe, that we have to continue to fund the Ukrainian effort, or U.S. soldiers, citizens could wind up fighting there. How do you assess that?
This is a provocation, and a cheap provocation at that. I do not understand why American soldiers should fight in Ukraine. There are mercenaries from the United States there. The bigger number of mercenaries comes from Poland, with mercenaries from the United States in second place, and mercenaries from Georgia in third place. Well, if somebody has the desire to send regular troops, that would certainly bring humanity to the brink of very serious global conflict. This is obvious. Do the United States need this? What for? Thousands of miles away from your national territory. Don't you
He's
have
like,
anything
you guys
better
aren't
to
gonna
do?
do this, you little bitches.
You have issues on the border, issues with migration, issues with the national debt, more than $33 trillion. You have nothing better to do, so you should fight in Ukraine? Wouldn't it be better to negotiate with Russia, make an agreement, already understanding the situation that is developing today, realizing that Russia will fight for its interests to the end? And realizing this, actually return to common sense, start respecting our country and its interests, and look for certain solutions. It seems to me that this is much smarter and more rational.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
End it right there. Video's over.
I love that. Who blew up Nord Stream?
Yeah. You, big dog. And look at his face again. Tucker's making good pictures with this one.
Was busy that day. Nate, do you have I did not blow up Nord Stream.
Not giggly Putin.
He got him with that one, though.
Thank you, though.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such.
Did you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
You know, I won't get into details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities. Because there may be many people interested, but not all of them are capable of sinking to the bottom of the Baltic Sea and carrying out this explosion. These two components should be connected. Who is interested and who is capable of doing it.
But I'm confused. I mean, that's the biggest act of industrial terrorism ever. And it's the largest emission of CO2 in history. Okay, so if you had evidence, and presumably given your security services, your intel services, you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West did this, why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States, because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media.
W.
The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American financial institutions. Don't you know that? So it is possible to get involved in this work, but it is cost prohibitive, so to speak. We can simply shine the spotlight on our sources of information, and we will not achieve results. It is clear to the whole world what happened, and even American...
What, Larry?
It's too expensive to out propaganda the U.S. That's awesome.
It's true.
It's
Analysts
absolutely true. I just love it. It's
about it directly. It's true.
Yes, but here's a question you may be able to answer. You worked in Germany, famously. The Germans clearly know that their NATO partner did this, and it damaged their economy greatly. It may never recover. Why are they being silent about it? That's very confusing to me. Why wouldn't the Germans say something about it?
This also confuses me. But today's German leadership is guided by the interests of the collective West rather than its national interests. Otherwise, it is difficult to explain the logic of their action or inaction. After all, it is not only about Nord Stream 1, which was blown up, and the Nord Stream 2 was damaged. But one pipe is safe and sound, and gas can be supplied to Europe through it. But Germany does not open it. We are ready, please. There's another route through Poland, called Yamal Europe, which also allows for large flow. Poland has closed it, but Poland pecks from the German hand. It receives money from the pan-European funds, and Germany is the main donor to these pan-European funds. Germany feeds Poland to a certain extent, and they close the route to Germany. Why? I don't understand. Ukraine, to which the Germans supply weapons and give money. Germany is the second sponsor of the United States in terms of financial aid to Ukraine. There are two gas routes through Ukraine. They simply closed one route, the Ukrainians. Open the second route and please get gas from Russia. They do not open it. Why don't the Germans say, look guys, we give you money and weapons, open up the valve, please, let the gas from Russia pass through for us. We're buying liquefied gas at exorbitant prices in Europe, which brings the level of our competitiveness and economy in general down to zero. So you want us to give you money? Let us have the decent existence. Make money for our economy, because this is where the money we give you comes from. They refuse to do so. Why? Ask them.
He's like,
That is what
listen,
is like in their head.
it's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah.
We open the gas, you give us some money, we have more money to pay for arms to go send to war in Ukraine, saves us money. You guys don't have to pay extremely high prices, saves you money, and you can buy and send more guns to Ukraine on your side. It's a win-win for both of us. I make money, you make money. Like,
You saying the quiet
He's
part's
literally-
loud.
he's literally like, I don't care if you use this money to go and kill more Russian people on the front lines. I just want to make more money off of this situation here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Perpetual war is good for both sides as long as neither side really truly is on the brink of winning.
Well, he hit the heart of the matter that prices in Europe are exorbitantly high. Of course, they love that. Well, who loves
Right.
that? Specifically, the capitalists.
Exactly. Are you telling me our communist father, Putin, it might actually be a proto-fascist capitalist oligarch?
Big F true.
Yeah.
No.
He's just a
But I thought us commies supported Putin.
This is a truly shocking development. Who would have thought?
yeah.
Yep.
I am stun locked.
I mean, I hope the Russian forces beat the shit out of NATO, and would
W.
love to, help facilitate such a thing. But
Wee woo. Coming.
You just hear at Larry's door. Open up.
I'm not here.
I think that'd be the second time I've had Larry arrested on the podcast. There's like our third episode. I experimented with some sound effects or whatever. But anyway, it just reminds me of I don't know if you guys saw this clip. Funny enough, this happened. The invasion happened almost 2 years ago to the day.
Yeah.
Maybe
My
that's when I'll
birthday.
drop this. But what was I gonna say? There was a southern-looking man in like Donetsk, and he made like a TikTok, and he was like, "I'm here to support the Russians," and I'm like, listen, bro. I feel like I like your energy. I feel like you're here for the wrong reasons, but I don't know. Good for you. All right, I got about 5 minutes. Let's see how far we get.
Their heads. Those are highly incompetent people.
Well, maybe the world is breaking into two hemispheres, one with cheap energy, the other without. And I want to ask you that. If we're now a multipolar world, obviously we are, can you describe the blocks of alliances? Who is in each side, do you think?
Listen, you have said that the world is breaking into two hemispheres. A human brain is divided into two hemispheres. One is responsible for one type of activities, the other one is more about creativity and so on. But it is still one and the same head. The world should be a single whole. Security should be shared rather than meant for the golden billion. That is the only scenario where the world could be stable, sustainable, and predictable. Until then, while the head is split in two parts, it is an illness, a serious adverse condition. It is a period of severe disease that the world is going through now. But I think that, thanks to honest journalism, this work is akin to work of the doctors. This could somehow be remedied.
Well, let's just give one example, the US dollar, which has kind of united the world in a lot of ways, maybe not to your advantage, but certainly to ours. Is that going away as the reserve currency, the universally accepted currency? How have sanctions, do you think, changed the dollar's place in the world?
You know, to use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy struggle is one of the biggest strategic mistakes made by the US political leadership. The dollar is the cornerstone of the United States power. I think everyone understands very well that no matter how many dollars are printed, they're quickly dispersed all over the world. Inflation in the United States is minimal. It's about 3 or 3.4%, which is, I think, totally acceptable for the US.
No,
But they won't stop printing.
Not cooking. Not cooking.
I don't feel that one.
Yeah. Fuck that.
He's uncooking. He's burning the water.
You gotta lift.
Now everything's
gotta
on
lift
fire.
The pot. Gotta lift the pot off the burner, my guy.
Firefighters are getting called as we speak.
Leadership.
Это основа основ могущества США.
The dollar is the cornerstone of the United States power. I think everyone understands very well that no matter how many dollars are printed, they're quickly dispersed all over the world.
3%, примерно 3-4 штуки. Вот, приемлемо для США абсолютно.
Inflation in the United States is minimal. It's about 3 or 3.4%, which is, I think, totally acceptable for the US. But they won't stop printing. What does the debt of $33 trillion tell us about? It is about the emission.
Как только политическое руководство приняло решение использовать доллар в качестве инструмента политической борьбы,
Nevertheless, it is the main weapon used by the United States to preserve its power across the world. As soon as the political leadership decided to use the US dollar as a tool of political struggle, a blow was dealt to this American power. I would not like to use any strong language, but it is a stupid thing to do and a grave mistake.
He's like low-key doing the libertarian thing. Like, you guys should have stayed small bean capitalism, not gone to this corporatism, imperialism. Small bean capitalism, good. He's silly. He's silly.
Look at what is going on in the world. Even the United States allies are now downsizing their dollar reserves. Seeing this, everyone starts looking for ways to protect themselves. But the fact that the United States applies restrictive measures to certain countries, such as placing restrictions on transactions, freezing assets, etc., causes grave concern and sends a signal to the whole world. What did we have here? Until 2022, about 80% of Russian foreign trade transactions were made in US dollars and euros. US dollars accounted for approximately 50% of our transactions with third countries, while currently it is down to 13%. It wasn't us who banned the use of the US dollar.
США приняли решение ограничить наши расчеты в долларе.
We had no such intention. It was decision of the United States to restrict our transactions in US dollars. I think it is complete foolishness from the point of view of the interests of the United States itself and its taxpayers, as it damages the US economy, undermines the power of the United States across the world. By the way, our transactions in yuan accounted for about 3%.
Сейчас 34%.
Today, 34% of our transactions are made in rubles and about as much, a little over 34% in yuan.
Зачем Соединенные Штаты?
Why did the United States do this? My only guess is self-conceit. They probably thought it would lead to full collapse, but nothing collapsed. Moreover, other countries, including oil producers, are thinking of and already accepting payments for oil in yuan. Do you even realize what is going on or not?
Вы понимаете, что это
Does anyone in the United States realize this? What are you doing? You are cutting yourself off. All experts say this.
то, что всегда...
Ask any intelligent and thinking person in the United States what the dollar means for the US.
Что такое доллар?
You're killing it.
All right. We got any final thoughts, boys, on this? Who wants to go?
Not really. I think he's, this particular section, he's in the section before, he's really like demonstrating that the money is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think this interview was
he's
really
got the
good
best
because
interests of his capitalists in mind.
Right. I think this
Exactly.
interview is a good example, and I think all communists and communist adjacent people should watch this because it gives us the perspective of the Russian nationalists, which in some of their positions are correct, that NATO is imposing its will on Russia and Eastern Europe. That is fundamentally true. The United States is supporting neo-Nazis in Ukraine. The United States is continuing to support that war for as long as it can make money. Russia reacted to that situation, not so much because Vladimir Putin and the capitalists truly believe in the liberation of Donetsk or the Donbass. Rather, they're trying to oppose NATO opposition. It's two sides of capitalism fighting each other.
Yeah.
And as communists, we should support the side that is not the current biggest fucking bully in the neighborhood. That's NATO. So this is a good example of the parts where we disagree with Putin as to if in a fantasy situation tomorrow NATO withdrew and the Russians won the so-called war. All right, so then all these other things that Putin was yapping about that we disagree with, this is why we disagree with him. This is why he is no communist. He's blatantly a capitalist. And we are against him and he would be against us.
Yeah, 100%. Like Putin's not going to turn around and be full worker support and start imposing socialist policies tomorrow if they won the war in Ukraine. Like, it would just be capitalism. And then if NATO collapsed or withdrew, then Russia would become the big dog. And then, boom, we're just right back where we started.
Yep. And contradictions will keep contradicting. But I think we got enough out of this interview, unless something crazy happens at the end that I'll scan for later on. But I got a diddy bop, homie. So thanks for hanging out.
All right.
All right.